than what you got there, but it's a lot more thorough. Okay?
I like it.
All right, clearance lights, headlights, high beams, low beams, left-right turn signals, four-way flashers, and reflectors on the side of your headlight. All mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, clean, rough color, and working. Okay? Then you look under the truck. No visible leaks. What would it leak? Same thing your car would. Just add hydraulic fluid to it. Because your shocks have hydraulic fluid. Okay? Once you get that, you open the hood. Now we're going to come over to the right side. I want you to use the word bear, B-E-A-R. B stands for belt. It's mounted and secured. It's not cut, torn, or frayed. No more than 1/2, 3/4 inch free play. E is for my exhaust, from manifold to stack or tailpipe. It's mounted and secured. It's not cracked or broken. No soot to indicate leaks. A is my alternator down here and electrical connections. All mounted and secured. Not cracked or broken. Not missing any bolts. All connections are tight. No cut or frayed wires and no corrosion. And then R. I want you to do the Vanna White. Radiator hose and all other hoses. Mounted and secured. Not cut, gouge, or bulging. Not leaking. Remember, if it holds fluid or air, it cannot be leaking. Okay? Everything is mounted and secured. All right, we're done over there. Come on over here. As soon as you walk over here, you're going to tell them coolant, power steering oil, all full. All you're going to do is tell them what you'd be checking for. Okay? Now, the way I do it is I start up against the engine and I work my way out. That way I'm not going to miss anything. First thing I'm going to talk about is my air compressor, which is back there behind the frame, and my power steering pump. It's mounted and secured. It's gear driven. It's not cracked or broken. It's not leaking. Move up to your water pump right here. My water pump is mounted and secured. Not cracked or broken. Not leaking. It's belt driven. Now, as soon as I tell them it's belt driven, I'm going to tell them all my belts and hoses on this side, I check just like I did the other side. I already checked belts and hoses over there, didn't I? Yeah. Okay. My air lines coming from the compressor and going into the cab, these are all mounted and secured. Not cut, gouge, or bulging. Not leaking. Now, next thing out is my frame. The frame, front to rear, side to side. Mounted and secured. Not cracked or broken. No legal welds or drill holes. Now talk about what's attached to your frame. Front spring mount, U-bolts, rear spring mount, my springs. All mounted and secured. Not cracked or broken. Springs aren't misaligned. Now that's suspension, so do your shock absorber. Mounted and secured. Not cracked or broken. Not leaking. Now I'm going to do all my steering components. This is my high pressure power steering hose. It's got the big metal fitting. Low pressure. It's got the little rinky-dink fitting. These are both mounted and secured, not cut, gouge, or bulging, not leaking. Power steering gearbox, mounted and secured, not cracked, broken, not leaking, not missing any bolts. Pivot arm drag link steering knuckle, the tie rod ends, castle nuts, and cotter pins. In other words, all my steering linkage. These are all mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, not missing any castle nuts or cotter pins. Now, I'm coming back to the frame and I'm going to work my way out to the tire. Brake line, brake hose. Lines are metal, hoses are rubber. So they're mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, nor is it cut, gouge, or bulging, not leaking. My brake chamber and my C-clamp, mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, not leaking. C-clamp is tight. 5 items coming out of your brake chamber. I have my push rod, my clevis, my slack adjuster, my pins, and my cotter pins. All mounted and secured. Not cracked or broken, not missing any pins or cotter pins. Slack adjuster has no more than 1 inch of free play when the brakes are released. Now what does that work? My brake lining and drum. Brake linings are nothing more than a fancy word for brake shoes. They're mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, free of oil and grease. Linings are not worn dangerously thin. Now before I come out here, I'm going to point down here and say my inner and outer hub seal and all the bolts that hold it. Mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, not leaking, not missing any bolts. Jump up to your lug nuts. All present, mounted and secured. No shininess or rust trails to indicate looseness. The rim, mounted and secured. Not cracked or broken. No legal welds. The tire, 3 letters, ICD. Inflated specifications. C, condition. It's not cut, gouged, or bulging. Not a recap, evenly worn. And D, depth, no less than 4/32 inch tread depth. Move back here. My multi-function light. This works my left turn signal, my parking light, my 4-ways. It's mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, clean, proper color, and it's working. Mirror bracket, mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, mirror's clean. The door hinges, door latches, mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, opens and closes, and latches securely. Fuel tank, mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, not leaking. Fuel cap is tight, not leaking. Side compartment. In here I have a fully charged 10 BC fire extinguisher, and it's mounted and secured. Can't be in there rolling around. I have 3 DOT reflective triangles, spare electrical fuses, and or circuit breakers. Now I believe on your pre-trip, that is on the in-cab inspection. And the reason being is the pre-trip they wrote was with a day cab. It didn't have a sleeper. So all the stuff that was in here was actually inside the cab with the driver. All right, so just talk about it while you're here. Between the tractor and trailer, I want you to use the alphabet, A through J, except we're going to leave BF out of it. B stands for battery, F stands for the frame. Battery's not on your pre-trip, and F I already did up there. I said frame, front to rear, side to side, right?
Yep.
So I covered that. So let's start with A. My airlines. I checked these airlines just like I did the ones up front. C, my catwalk and steps leading to the catwalk. Mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, free of debris. D is my drive shaft and my U-joints. Mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, U-joints are tight. E is the electrical line. Mounted and secured at both ends with the safety catch over the top, no cut or frayed wires. F, we leave out of it. So let's go to G, my glad hands, mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, not leaking. H is my header board, mounted and secured, not cracked or broken. I is my trailer illumination at the top. These are mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, clean, proper color and working. And J, splash guard and mud flap, mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, not rubbing the tire, nor is it dragging the ground. Reflective DOT tape on the back of that mud flap is securely mounted, not cut, torn, or frayed. DOT violation if you don't have reflective tape on the back of your mud flap. Okay? Okay, so now we're going to do the coupling system. Letters A, L, L, P, A, R, K, S. A stands for the airline in front of the fifth wheel. I checked that airline like I did the ones up front. L is my locking pins, little square pegs sticking in the holes there. These are mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, in the locked position. The other L is for my locking jaws. Mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, in the locked position around the shank of the kingpin. P is for my platform and the platform mounting bolts, all those bolts down there. It's mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, not missing any bolts. A is my apron, the bottom of the trailer up front. That is mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, and there is no space between the apron and the skid plate. R is my release handle, mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, in the locked position. And then K is my kingpin, mounted and secured, not cracked or broken.
Can you actually write that on the truck when you're doing your inspection?
Pardon me?
Can you actually write all parts on there? Or will they trip out?
No.
Okay.
Don't do that. Don't. You might find a trailer over there that already has it written down.
Like this one does?
Well, yeah.
Somebody ordered right there.
A couple times.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, so now I've just done the coupling system. Now I have to do one of these axles. Okay? This is where it starts getting repetitious because the majority of the parts on this axle is the same thing I described up there. The majority of them, not all of them. Let's talk about the suspension. This is your control arm mount. Right here. Your control arm bushing. Control arm mount, control arm bushing. The control arm. The U-bolts that hold it to the axle, and the rear mount, which mounts under the airbag. These are all mounted and secured, not cracked or broken. Airbag, mounted and secured, not cut, gouged, or bulging, and it's not leaking. What would it leak?
Air.
Air. It's an airbag, right? Okay. Now that's suspension. If it has air right, you know it's got a shock absorber. So call out the shock absorber and tell them you check it just like you did the one up front. Now here's where it all becomes repetition. Brake lines and hoses, I check just like I did the one up front. Brake chamber and C-clamp, I check like I did the one up front. My push rod, my clevis, my slack adjuster, my pins, my cotter pins. I would check all those like I did the ones up front. You see where I'm going with this? Okay. Brake lining and drum, I check just like I did the one up front. Inner and outer axle seal and all the bolts that hold it, I would check just like I did my hub seal up front. Ribs and lug nuts, I would check like I did the one up front. My tire, I would check just like I did the one up front, with the exception, this could have no less than 2 36-inch tread depth, plus it's dual tires. They're on Bud rims. So I need to make sure they're evenly spaced, no debris in between them. Now what's a Bud rim? This rim here is the same thing that's on that inside tire, it's just turned around facing the other way. The rims butt up against each other. That's why they call it a Bud rim. Okay? Now, that covers everything here. I'm still not done with the tractor. I got lights on the back of it, don't I? Come on back here. Don't overthink this. There's only 3 lights back there, actually 4 if you want to name the license plate light. But everything that's on the back of your car is on the back of this truck. Everything. Left, right turn signals, 4-way flashers, parking lights, brake lights, reverse light, reflectors, and license plate light. These are all mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, clean, proper color, and working. Now, we can start with the trailer. The trailer frame, front to rear, side to side, top to bottom. I checked this frame just like I did the one on the tractor. I did a frame up there, didn't I? Okay, I'm throwing it right here. Reflective DOT tape running down the side of the trailer. I checked that just like I did the tape on the back of this mud flap. I need to make sure I have no holes in my trailer floor. I also need to make sure that I got adequate space between my landing gear and my mud flap, so it doesn't catch when I make a turn. Speaking of landing gear, mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, fully raised with the handle in its cradle. That covers that. Multi-function light. I checked this one just like I did the one on the tractor. Come back here. First, you got to identify, do you have air ride or do you have springs? This one's got springs. I can see it right there. So if it's got springs, I know it does not have a shock absorber. If it's got springs, I know it doesn't have a control arm. It's got a torsion bar instead. So let's describe the tandems first. The tandem release handle and locking pins are both mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, in the lock position. My front spring mount, my springs, my U-bolts, and my rear spring mount, I'd check just like I did the one on the tractor. My torsion bar is mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, along with the bushing. That covers the suspension. Now we got to start naming all the parts on the axle again. Brake lines and hoses, I checked like I did the ones up front. Brake chamber and C-clamp, I checked just like I did the one up front. Push rod clevis, slack adjuster pins, cotter pins, I would check just like I did the ones up front. Brake lining and drum, I checked just like I did the one up front. My inner and outer hub seal and all the bolts that hold it, I checked just like I did the one up front. My rim and lug nuts, I would check just like I did the ones up front. My tires, I checked just like I did my drive tires. 2 30-seconds, right? Evenly spaced. My mud flap, I would check just like what?
Like you did up front.
Like the one I did up front, you got it. My marker light, mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, clean, proper color and working. When I come back here, the door hinges, door latches, it's latched at the top and bottom. I check this door just like I did the one on the tractor, with the exception, safety catch has to be in the locked position over the handle. Reflective DOT tape on the door and on the bumper, I would check just like I did on the side of the trailer and on the back of that mud flap. All my lights back here, including identification lights, I would check all these lights just like I did the ones up front. Now think, did you miss anything? I don't think so. Tell them, I'll do the passenger side the same as I did the driver's side. You don't have to walk back up the other side. Now you're ready to do your in-cab inspection. Your in-cab inspection is part of your pre-trip. That's included in those 90 parts, okay? And you can find me doing that if you type in CR England in-cab inspection. 5 minutes, 54 seconds long. I'll give you everything.
Got it.
Your tug test, I give you the in-cab inspection, I give you the 3-point. Okay? So there's your pre-trip. That's what you folks need to know.